Andrew are here, but mostly Disney is the name of the podcast here to play. Laugh along to what they say. So tune in, grab your mouse ears, let's all give a cheer for Disney. Times are here.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Mostly Disney podcast. I'm Tater, coming to you from sunny Virginia. My friend on the other end from South Carolina is always Andrew Milan. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How's everybody doing tonight?
And tonight we are joined by the legendary Tim Foster. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thanks, legendary.
We need credibility, so we have Tim.
Okay.
Well, look, that's better than little or banana. So with something different, legendary.
Legendary
okay, I'll
Tim
take
Foster.
it. I'll take it.
We'll let Lou choke on that for a little while.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, Lou. Hi, Lou.
And it's a good thing he's
Oops.
here, right? Because the times they are a-changing. It's a tough time for your larynx, the particulate in your larynx. If you don't get here
Oh,
early,
wow, that was quick. I was keeping a little bingo card. How long would it take you to say the
Little
word?
cough.
Yep, there you are.
you
We
got to
didn't
get
even
here early, guys. We start early. If you come here on time, you're late. Or if you're only listening to the audio, you're going to miss out on the the kids in the back of the class or the back of the bus joking around. But no, I mean, there's a lot of really exciting new stuff happening at the parks, and there's a lot of, I'll say, exciting changes that some of us may have a tough time getting past our larynx.
Controversial
Right.
changes.
And this is not anything that new, right? We know that Disney folks have strong opinions and we are attached to what we are attached to. But for me,
Go ahead, get it out.
I'm just going to, the lobby of
Get
the
it out.
Polynesian, that one, that's the worst one. That's the one I'm really mad at Disney for, right? Like that's the one I just can't let go. And I don't even try. It just comes up every single episode at how much disdain I have for the new lobby.
Wait,
of the
what?
Polynesian.
Which one was it? I didn't hear what you
Sorry,
said.
the lobby for the Polynesian.
Okay.
I really love so much about the old lobby. My kids took hula lessons there. They made leis. We had torch lightings. It's just sad. It's just sad. And yes, I am Chuck. I am bitter. It is bittersweet. It's true. But Carousel of Progress. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it. Let's go.
Wow. Jumping right in. That's Andrew at butmostlydisney.com.
Yes, send on me all your hate mail.
So I initially, as always with these changes, am shocked and agog and sad and worried. And then 7 times out of 10, Disney proves me wrong, right? They prove me that they do a good job and they think about things and they get it right. But this one is so much of Walt's fingerprints on it that if you're a nostalgist, if that's a word like me, I'm having a tough time with it.
All right. I love Walt, but he said it better than anybody. It's not a museum. And you have to get, so they're taking the 60s, if I remember, 60s, 80s, the 90s, and then the future. Correct?
Correct.
So
And adding Walt at the beginning.
Walt at the beginning.
Right.
So most people now, they're taking their kids, grew up in the 60s. They're now grandparents. So now it's, hey, Grandma, Grandpa, this is how it was when you were young. And then it goes through to their parents and now the kids' future. So I can see where they're changing it because now they're trying to grab that time frame. Like Lou says, when they make new rides or change something, it's not for us. It's for the newer generation. But I think if you take Walt's deal, everything's changing. His idea for Epcot, was a ever-evolving change of the world and technology. So I think the Carousel of Progress is just an extension of what Walt wants to see happen. So I think he'd be happy to see it change. And I'm a Walt nostalgic. I watch old Walt Disney films all the time with just him, just to hear his voice and listen to him talk. But I think it's time for a change. And once again, you can send all your hate mail to me, big guy.
Well, you're not wrong, right? I mean, no one's wrong. That's the thing. I mean, Lil Jon says it I mean, this is true. It's so much better than if they tore it down, right?
Yeah.
Like that would be terrible. And we never know what's coming, right? I don't pretend to understand Disney economics and how they run their business. I mean, if I was good at that, they probably would have called me and asked me to come in by and give my opinion. And this is something like probably where we should start is like, and Tim, you might be able to jump in here even better than I know, right? Better than I, but this has been done before. Like this is not the original version of
The World's Fair? No.
of Carousel of Progress. Like this is a couple renditions in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't realize, and I'm a bad, I guess, as much as I think I'm a nostalgist, I guess I'm not, but I don't remember the other ones. This is the one we started with our family, but originally being able to walk up a ramp or ride up a ramp and see that the original form of that model on the TTA or People Mover, like that's just a fraction of what they had upstairs from Carousel of Progress in Disneyland. And now, I'm sad I didn't see Horizons. Now I'm really sad I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's a interesting topic. I have a whole soapbox speech about this topic because it's kind of woven into the DNA of Disney. Now I don't know how far into my soapbox I want to go.
Well, we have hours.
The way. Yep.
Go for it.
No, how do I do this? And a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I am one of those people who is totally fine with change whenever it happens. I have no qualms about it. And it does. I hear all the arguments against it whenever anything changes. I think I'm sure I told this on a previous show with you guys, a joke somebody told me. It might have been you guys actually who told me this. That if you're ever lost in the woods, did I tell you this?
No, fire away.
Before? I'll tell you again.
Fire away.
So it's a joke. It's a fun joke. It's not even an old joke. If you're lost in the woods and you don't know where to go, and there's no hope of getting out of there, just find yourself a clearing and say out loud, "I heard they're gonna close," and pick your favorite Disney attraction. You will have hundreds of angry Disney fans running out of the woods to argue with you, and they'll get you home. So, but I mean, change is hard, but I think that it's so part of what Walt Disney was all about. And I actually think it's kind of funny if people get upset about the Carousel of Progress. If there was one attraction that epitomized Walt's vision of Disneyland will never be finished, keep moving forward, there's always imagination left in the world, and we will always change. It's Carousel of Progress. It's in the name. It's in the introduction, for crying out loud. If there's one thing Walt Disney loved, it's progress. And I know it's hard to take sometimes when things move forward, but they need to. And one way to look at it is if you are nostalgic for an attraction you miss and you lament that it's gone, and you take it further and say they should never change anything. It should be Walt's original vision, blah, 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 all of that. Think of all the things you would not have now. Probably your favorite attraction right now would not exist if nothing ever changed. So it does have to happen. And it's change. It's unknown. Will it be a hit? They hope so. We hope so. Will it be a miss? Yeah, it happens sometimes. Everybody doesn't get it right 100% of the time, but the thing is to keep trying to keep moving forward and keep stretching the limits of what you can do and trying new things. And sometimes it means saying goodbye to an old friend, but I think it just goes with it. And ultimately it's a good thing because a lot of the stuff that we know and love today exists because it was tried out for the first time at some point. And that's just the way it goes. So people who lament that this changed or that changed or this closed and they're upset, I think need to, if you kind of look at the bigger picture of what Disney is all about and what Walt Disney was all about, that just goes with the territory. And for the most part, it's a good thing.
No, and you're right. I mean, and that's the thing is that I do agree, and even though there's part of me that it's kind of like when you're, if you love the Dolphins or whoever your team is, when they lose, you're personally offended, or maybe just me, personally offended,
No,
like I had anything to do with
I'm
it.
watching my Phillies losing right now, so I know exactly
Right.
what
So
you're
it's a
talking.
punch in the gut. Um, and and I didn't realize, and so this morning when I woke up, I was very much, against. It's not the right word. I do have some concerns, and we can bring that up as we go along. But the the thing is I just love it so much, and it's such a warm hug for my family when we come to the park. Like it's become such a tradition for us to ride that and throw out the quotes and it. I've shared that with my kids, and I hear and people are right. They're like, I heard somebody talking about it and saying, well, there's no one or not many left alive who can reminisce with those scenes, right? Those people, not, I don't think there's many folks that we know of who were alive at the turn of the century. So, you can't bring grandma and she can tell you about how they had to put ice in the ice box and that kind of thing. But there's a lot of the park. I mean, Main Street would be that way. There's no one alive who remembers Main Street. And yet I hope, not knock on wood, we're not going to change that because it sets such a tone. I like the idea. And I think Ken Bruce, I feel like we quote him on this every single show, but I feel like he had in researching his book, delved a lot into Walt and said, he point blank without any apology was just like, Walt would have changed all of this 9 times.
Yeah,
None of this
absolutely.
would be here. And I don't like to play, what would Walt do? Cause I can't, as much as I love what has come out of his mind, I don't think I could get in and figure it out. But it's such a tradition and we love our traditions. And I asked my kids about it, and they're 20, 21 and they love it the way it is. They don't think it's corny. And I do have to wonder like how much of that did I put into them, right? I remember it. I went on it as a kid, I'm sure. I don't remember it as a kid. I remember Pirates and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Sniff, sniff. And Peter Pan and the Swan Boats. I do remember the Swan Boats. I'm not lamenting the Swan Boats particularly, but it was a neat memory as a kid. But we also started at Disney Hollywood with the hat, right? Like that was our icon walking into the parks, was seeing that giant mixed sorcerer's hat at the end of that of Avenue of the Stars, and people hated that hat. I don't think when we started going, I really paid much attention to Disney, whatever was, on the internet through AOL or whatever, I wasn't reading message boards and that kind of thing. And I didn't realize when they took that down, how many people despised it. I mean, just could not stand it. So maybe what ends up happening, and because I was thinking about this today, is that we end up falling in love with whatever version we're introduced, right? So,
Well, yeah, I was actually going to go off on that point
yeah,
too.
fire away.
No, you nailed it, and that is such a thing with, especially with Disney, but it does apply to pretty much everything: TV, the music you like, anything you do. There's just an inevitability. What you grew up with is your version, and when people are, a lot of times when people are lamenting a change and they don't think it's good or it's right or it's proper, it should be done. They're not advocating that it should go back to 1971 or in Disneyland it should go back to 1955. They want it to go back to 1993 or 1982.
Right.
Whenever it was they started. And that's all well and good, but clearly you can see the problem there because we all have our own Disney that we grew up with and we're nostalgic with. Just like you have the music you grew up, if most of our music is decided when we're teenagers in our 20s, when we're actively listening and getting into our groups, we stop doing that down the road when we're 30 and 40. We're not going to the record stores. We're listening to what slowly becomes the oldies station. And then we're lamenting that the music of today is nothing like it was back in my day when it was good.
Right.
Or fill in the blank, TV, movies, whatever it is. So that's where it is interesting because someone who laments the best time at Disney, it isn't the same for everybody. And and in a way, it's not fair to that Disney should be beholden to your vision of it just because you started going in, 1994,
Yeah,
as opposed to somebody else. Like Spaceship, we talked about Spaceship Earth, I think, on last show. It's kind of the same thing. Like, what's your favorite version?
right.
And for a lot of people, it's the version you first saw. It's the version you
Yeah.
grew up with, more or less. And that could be, in my case, it's the Jeremy Irons version. That's the first one I know. For people over there since the 80s, it was Walter Cronkite. That's the version. For people that just start going today, it's Dame Judi Dench, and that's the end of the story. I don't know these old people you're talking about. So um, it's just an interesting thing. So it's one thing to keep in mind to be nostalgic for the era you grew up with, but it's more about that than it is about Disney doing anything untoward or not like Walt Disney would want or anything like that. So
Yeah,
that's what you grew up.
it just gets tough, and I think, it's funny. I was listening to Lou's podcast today, and his guest was saying, like, he's like, if it were my way, it would be carousels of progress, and they'd be stacked one on top of the other, and you could just ride them all, the different versions, all the way through and see it all. And it could all be in a park in St. Louis or something. And the 2 days it would be open before they closed it down because no one came, would be amazing. But it's true. I mean, as much as there's part of me where, like, well, could we have one park that's a museum of the way things were, and then the rest of the parks evolve and advance? And I know in reality that wouldn't work, but in my head, I want it so badly, because it just becomes very comforting. It becomes and that's one of the reasons that I spend so much money on a vacation with my family to Disney, is because I know what I'm going to get. Like, again, I also love changes, and I'll get to that too. But I know that when I buy those tickets and when I spend the ungodly amount I do on hotel rooms, when we go, we're going to have a relatively consistent experience. And it's just, for us, Carousel in particular, even over Rivers of America, which I was also shocked by, even though my kid on that one said it was hot and sweaty and boring, and taking up prime real estate, right? But I every time it changes, I get nervous.
Well, that was one that drove me a little crazy too, the whole Tom Sawyer Island, Rivers of America, and how many people, like how angry people would get. And I tried to stay out of it, and I don't really try and read much, but you had a lot of that was Walt's vision. They're changing the match, they're getting rid of everything.
Well,
And I know, 3/4, 90% of the people, whatever percentage of the people that are saying these things, they haven't been to Tom Sawyer Island in 20 years.
oh, right.
They don't go. They walk past it. To them, it's the pretty sight that's to the right as you walk over towards Thunder Mountain or something like that. And so it doesn't mean we'll miss it, but ignoring the reality of it did take up so much space, and very few people did go over there. And one of the things Disney tries to do, and I do give them a lot of credit for doing this, is they always do try and make the guest experience better, which is a very, very, very difficult thing. I don't envy that job. Like the task they have continually, even more so these days, is you have it's a good problem, but a bad problem. You have a good problem that you have all these people that want to go to the park. Tens of thousands of people want to go to the park. But Disney, they don't want you waiting in line for 3 or 4 hours, and they don't want you miserable, and they don't want you to have to deal with you're having a bad time because it's so crowded. So if you're Disney, how do you fix it? And I always kind of put people on the spot. I'm kind of a jerk like that, but I put people on the spot. Like, if it was up to, if you were Disney, and you can lament that it's crowded and it's this and it's that and it's expensive and everything else. But when you're tasked with, all right, well, you're in charge, fix it. How do you do it? If you're going to limit the number of people that go in the park, now people are going to be mad that I can't go whenever I want. If you're going to charge more, well, obviously we know what the complaint would be about that. One way out of it, give people more stuff to do. If we had 8 parks instead of 4, think of how great that would be.
Right.
But come back to, if you have a couple more e-ticket attractions in the park, you could spread people out more. We're not all waiting 5 hours for Space Mountain. We're all spread out. So when you're looking at that whole area back in the park, which was huge, but not too much going on back there, if you can put 2 new lands and a few more e-ticket attractions and give people that much more stuff to do and help people have a good time, then that's one way to do it. And it's a commitment to do that too. That's not just raising prices or extending hours. That's developing these things and undertaking this mammoth project, which is a thing. So my soapbox is getting really clunky here. I better step
No,
off
it's
of it
good.
for a second.
And here's the thing. So Hawk says in the comments that that's how he feels about COP. Make it something new, not even a refurb, a totally new, updated ride in that space. Like, that's interesting. Is a refurb the right thing to do? I mean, if you're gonna change it, I mean, I think the
Well,
proverbial
No,
Disney fandom
so,
would
like,
lose its mind if there wasn't
one
some.
Well,
thing
yeah.
that I like, Tim just said it. People talk about this wasn't Walt's vision. Walt wasn't around when this was all being planned.
Right.
So we don't know what his vision was.
And interestingly, looking back, the reason it ended up back in the park is because GE paid for it.
Right.
Like, I mean, I know we all hear, and some of these stories we hear about Walt, I don't know if they're true or not. I wasn't there, but we know he used these rides to develop the technology he wanted for other things. But basically, from what I understand, is this was going to be for the World's Fair and then scrapped. And then GA said, well, hey, we'll pay you a bunch of money if you put this in Disneyland and make it permanent. We'll sponsor the whole thing. So it really kind of was an ad. The whole ride was an ad.
I think the one thing that, like, for me, we haven't heard anything about villains in a long time. I'm not a villains guy, so I could care less. But, that's one thing that I always think about is when they make these, like, they announce these changes and they're going to do it. Is it something that's going to take? No, they could redo this Carousel of Progress and it'd be horrible. I doubt that would happen. But have they now shelved this villains land deal? Because they have not cleared. They haven't cleared anything, have they?
I mean, I looked at it from Big Thunder Mountain. There's definitely some dirt being moved around, but you're right. It looks like it's mostly on the cars side.
Right. So, like, is that I think that's one thing that scares people. It's like, oh, they're going to change it, but what are they going to do, and how's it going to be? Everybody thinks about, like, Stitch's Great Escape. That was a nightmare from the start, and that was kind of like, here, we're going to plug something in space to give you, here's your Stitch ride. So have they learned from that now? And maybe they're like, hey, we're going to go back to the drawing board. We're going to give you your villains land, but we're going to really put some effort into it. We're not just going to throw something out and, here you go. You asked for it. This is what we gave you. So I'm hoping that, when they do this Carousel of Progress thing, they started out with putting Walt in the opening scene. They've talked about Tom Hanks doing the voice before, and it never, COVID stopped that. They were going to redo the audio. So now, maybe they have time to redo the audio and use Tom Hanks for the voice. Who knows? But yeah, it was only supposed to be an advertisement for GE, and then they said, no, we want to put it. The heck, the song's been changed twice.
Right.
So it's changing every time it comes out. There's a new iteration, new song. So for it to change again, I don't think it's a big surprise.
For those of you playing along at home, I think you know that this is the most Andrew has ever talked on any podcast episode we've had.
Talking about changes, man.
I've never heard him go this crazy. Well, okay.
I have my soapbox and it's getting clunky now too. So
right. And
those soapbox.
And Brian, who is the Crawford from Keeping Walt and Disney, it really has the king of nostalgia, right? I mean, and he says he loves it, right? He's excited. This is how we keep Walt and Disney, by keeping it going. And it's true.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say the one thing I think we all have to keep in mind. It doesn't, not to say we all can't have opinions of what's going on, obviously, but just from hearing our opinions, hearing people out there, clearly the problem you have when you're Disney or any creator, no matter what field you're in, is you're never going to make something that is 100% accepted by everybody.
Right.
Someone's not going to like it. And if you change something, not everyone's going to like it. If you keep something, not everybody's going to like it. They'll think this whatever. So as their creator, you just got to roll up your sleeves. I think, which is something Walt Disney said a few times or early on, the idea that, do what you do and do it the best you can do it, and let the cards fall and see what happens. Sometimes you swing and hit a home run. Sometimes it's a dud, but you don't know unless you do it. And I know Walt Disney was I know as if I know the guy. Like Walt Disney said many times about uh with the films early on before they're even parks, his philosophy of do everything the best he can do it and push the technology and push the artistic ability for the sake of doing it better, not for the sake of filling in the theater seats or trying to gear it towards kids or towards grown-ups or anything like that. It was do it, quality will out, as he famously said at one point. And so as a creator, you have to, whether it's Disney or your favorite musicians or TV stars or whatever, give them the benefit of trying something new. They're trying their best, and
Yeah.
will it work? Who knows? And will Carousel of Progress be bigger and better or dud? We don't know. Who knows? We'll find out. But I'd rather take the chance with changes and see how we go than to be still riding the attractions that were there in 1971 and nothing ever changed.
It is true, and
so on.
I know in my heart it's true, but in my head it's true, but my heart just
Your heart is
maybe
screaming.
it's backward. Yeah, it is. Well, and so here's what I'll say, and some people aren't going to like this. I think what they did with Country Bear Jamboree was perfect, and I tell you why. Not because I think it's better than the old one. That's not what I think, but I do think that at some point in time, like it's not my park anymore, right? And it's got to be that way. It's got to be transferred on to somebody new, and new generations have to bring their kids and they have to enjoy it. And if they don't, it's not going to exist for me to hopefully retire down there and waddle around as an old man. And I did get to go to the preview for Country Bear before it opened, and they had two Imagineers. I think I have a video on my channel. It's not a great video. The sound isn't great, but you can hear the loving care they put into that attraction. And I liked the old music. I wouldn't have changed it. I thought it was great. However, that was another one that it was auspiciously, I mean, you could notice that it was not full. People were not going in there. And they certainly weren't going twice. And I think what they did with that ride is they really, I mean, it is some shiny, shiny Imagineering, right? They held on to so much the feel of the original Country Bears while adding much better animatronics, much better lighting, much better, I mean, not much better music, but more current music. And the quality of the music was better, like what they did. I mean, they had Matt McNally from Jimmy Buffett's band doing the music, which, that plays a little bit into my heart. So I'm excited about it. I probably wasn't as passionate about Country Bear as I was about Carousel. It didn't have quite the same, but to somebody it did. Maybe somebody here who loved and named their truck Big Al, right? So the way they did that, I feel like when I go in there, I can see that old attraction and then still appreciate what they did. They did a really good job at, like Walt, having one foot in the past and 1 foot, at least in the now, if not in the future, on that attraction.
So they succeeded because my daughters, as much as I love the old original, hated it. Like I'd have to drag them in there. When we told them they redid the songs and they saw what songs they were, when they heard it, they love it. That's when we get into Frontierland, we gotta go see the Country Bears. I'm like, oh, now you want to go see the Country Bears? And I still get to see Big Al, and it's he still weeps at the end, but a little differently, and it's still fun, and they're doing Disney classics and new songs, but yeah, that's my soapbox. That's one of the first rides I remember or I went to was that attraction. Just found it by mistake. Didn't know anything about it and fell in love with it. But to see that my kids like it now, Disney succeeded 100%.
Yeah.
I have a little soapbox here.
Oh, good.
Oh, you have a soap dish. Come on.
Yeah. No, there's something you brought up a couple times. You said Lou said this. I'll talk with Lou later, but
Right.
I don't know if I necessarily buy into it. The idea that this park, they're not making it for us anymore. It's for the next generation.
Hmm.
I don't agree with that. Not even a little bit. I totally disagree with that statement. And I mean, I'm not Disney. I don't sit in the boardrooms, but I kind of I would love to hear like why that's thought that that's the way. I don't see that that's what's happening everywhere because if that were the case, if it's the only everything we do is going to be for the kids and the young kids, which means faster, more thrills, better, more all of that.
Right.
And that's not what happens. And I know every time a thrill attraction goes in somewhere, I'm trying to think of one, like when Guardians would go in instead of Energy, you would look at it. Now, yes, they did, and Epcot moved toward putting more thrill attractions on that side of the park. That's true. But there's so many instances. For every one time that happens, you can point to an instance where they could have done that, but they did not do that. Ratatouille, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is not a thrill attraction. Mickey's Runaway Railway is not a thrill attraction. Moana, Journey of Water is not a thrill attraction. So there's lots of new Carousel of Progress. They didn't take it out and put in a 3D looping corkscrew virtual reality roller
You're right.
coaster.
You're 100% right.
They kept it the way it was. So I don't think it's as simple as saying like us sitting around this table, Disney doesn't care about us anymore. And everything they do, they're not thinking about us at all. They're only thinking about kids. I think they are thinking about everybody. But part of the reality is it's not just us. It is the kids and it is the teenagers and it is the 30-year-olds and the 40-year-olds. So it's always trying to come up with as much as you can do to please as many people as you can. Not everything is going to please everybody. That's just the nature of it. I'm not a roller coaster guy, so I don't get into that kind of thing. Conversely, there are people who I know are big into thrills and all that. And even with the new Carousel of Progress, they're not going to go to the Carousel of Progress, sit in a theater and just sit there on board. I want to go do stuff. But you're not going to find that. But they still put so many different things to do that there still is something for everybody. And they still make new things out of for everybody, which is the point. Like it would have been so easy to turn Epcot into a 100% thrill park, or
You're right. I mean, that's well said. And
sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't.
Yeah,
So
you're right. There is homage paid, and I think I'm being a little reactionary in how I feel about it. I'm trying to play a little devil's advocate because I will tell you this, that I posted something on Facebook about it, and the response is overwhelmingly hooray for Carousel to change, like overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
And so maybe I just feel a little alone. Maybe I'm the one.
No, I mean
I'm
the
just kidding.
nostalgia is a strong thing and it's powerful. I guess where I see it out there, especially nowadays when we have social media and everybody has an opinion and all of that, it's and I think where we kind of suffer from is in this era we're in now, and so many people are out there trying to be on social media, whatever channel it's on, and it becomes a game of clicks and likes and engagement and algorithms and all of that. And the hot takes get clicks,
right,
and the clickbait headlines get the clicks, and and all of that. So there's a point to it, I guess, for a lot of people, but this overwhelming need to declare this is wrong, is wrong. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, black and white. This is wrong. This is bad. Like you can just declare it it's over the top in so many places, which is hard because I think a lot of times it's not fair exactly.
No, and
it could be upsetting to you, but it doesn't mean like somebody saying this is horrible, Disney shouldn't do it, as if that's the end of the discussion. Well, there's a lot of people that don't feel that way. They they're on the opposite side, and there's enough magic for everybody.
It's true, Tim. I like how passionate, and this soapbox thing fits you well.
I've had this discussion quite a lot.
I can't imagine that people. I mean, because it's a constant. Even people who aren't Disney, are texting me, saying, "Did you hear about Carousel of Progress?" Yes, I heard.
Well, I didn't know. I was all ready to write a book about Carousel of Progress for the fall.
I would hurry.
Whew. Well, no, I figured I better wait now and wait for because all out here is this the next version? Is the next version? No, I didn't know.
Well, and I'm not critical most of the time of what Disney does, right? Like I think I just end up having the same exact reaction. No, okay, ooh, I love it. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of, and it seems to be wash, rinse, and repeat on that. I think it's an interesting choice to get rid of Rivers of America because I thought it fit so well for that area. And I get attached, like I'm attached to the idea of the park telling a story and having these separate lands and the transitions. And, honestly, that's changing a little bit where things don't fit as well. And maybe they don't need to, right? Maybe it doesn't have to be this initial plan that Walt came up with that, again, he probably would have changed. But I also sit around and ride things and go, ooh, I can see the air conditioning unit. Walt would have hated that. But that's what happens when you go to the parks too much because you end up thinking in that way.
Yeah.
Muppet Coaster, right? I don't think Aerosmith had anything to do with Walt Disney, and people, it like you say, if not just for clicks, at least for something else, were really upset to lose Aerosmith. And I went down and wrote it, and I think
so.
I think it's great. Like, I think it feels the same. I think it feels just like the old ride with different scenery. It still feels rock and roll. You don't have Steven Tyler there anymore, who might have been a dubious choice of, mommy, who's that?
Yeah.
Maybe some questions you don't want to answer about Steven Tyler. And so the Muppets fit perfectly. The music's great. The new lights and themes. I mean, it's awesome. I love it. I think Soaring Over America for a temporary show is great, right? And yet when I say that, then everybody's like, well, the transitions weren't good and it was a lot of CGI.
Who cares?
I'm just like, I know. And I want to talk about that stuff too. I'm happy to critique it a little bit. I don't love Tiana's and honestly, not because I miss Splash Mountain, even though I do, but that was not like our family's ride. It wasn't something that, greeted me every time I walked in the park. I don't think it was the best job they could have done. Like you said, like, I think Tiana's, it
was an overlay. That's all it was.
It doesn't feel finished though. Right. Like, I'm okay with the Muppet overlay on Rock and Roller Coaster. To me feels like it belonged there,
Well, Rock and Roller Coaster, I think this is a good example of another point. I was trying to think of one, and you came up with it. Like, people who lament, in this case, like Muppets are there. How could they get rid of Rock and Roller Coaster? It was such an icon, and Aerosmith, and it's not the same, and all of that. And I get it. If you're nostalgic for the first version you wrote, that's perfectly fine. But I think it's hard to temper that and realize that's what you're upset about, just that you miss the one you did. But to take it to the next level and say this one's worse, it doesn't fit, it's bad, or whatever you want to say. Think of it this way: if the roller coaster opened as Muppets, that was it. It was never the Rock and Roller Coaster with Aerosmith, and it just opened with that. Nobody would have a problem.
That's exactly right.
Exactly right.
So, and Splash Mountain, if you didn't know the first one, and it just opened like that's the way it is. So comparing it to the one before, it's tough because inevitably, as we all know, when you compare, the glow of nostalgia usually makes that seem much better. But it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the new one. It's just different, and different is okay. The only problem is you just remember the first one. But if you never saw the first one, or if there never was a first one, you wouldn't have a problem with the Muppets roller coaster and complain it doesn't fit. It doesn't have the.
Well, it's like
it would be totally fine,
We get so,
or conversely, if it was Muppets and they changed it to Aerosmith, you'd have the same probably the same
Right.
arguments, just
Or somebody
backwards.
would.
Like, how could they change the Muppets? They
Well,
took
it's
it
like
out of there.
when they
Like,
changed
you know.
Maelstrom, none of those 4-year-old girls, little girls, knew what Maelstrom was. So they're like, "Oh, there was something before Frozen." Well, yeah, but you don't care. You don't know anything about it.
Well, it's like
Right.
po-
But now I can miss Maelstrom, and
Oh, I
that
do
doesn't
too.
mean I
But
don't love. I love Frozen Ever After too.
right.
So
I think
you
it's
know,
and I think that was the right decision, right? Like I do miss the edutainment part of Epcot. And I think Moana's does it's in the same vein. My oldest kid, who's 21, he misses all Horizon. We never saw Horizons. He misses Innovations. He misses going through that House of the Future, even though it was not really House of the Future.
I loved House of the
They
Future.
really loved that stuff. I'll be honest with you. I was very surprised. The first year we ever went, we just did Magic Kingdom for a day, and the kids were 1. And I want to say when they were 3 or 4, we took them to Epcot, and it I mean, they still love Magic Kingdom probably the most, but they loved Epcot, loved it. They loved walking through there, and I know there's no way they understood half of what was going on inside that park. And I was really surprised at how much they loved it, because I was prepared for, I'm hot, I want to go. And they troopered it out. They just thought it was great. There was something that felt right, and I keep trying to look for a way. Because we get possessive, right? We get really possessive about Maelstrom, because I really like knowing, as I always say, of what the GDP of Norway was and what their major experts were. Like I was writing a 5th grade social studies report, and I always stayed for the movie. I mean, I just really enjoyed it. I think Frozen's great, and the lines are out the door. It's the right move, right? It brings them into the park, and you hope you can have a balance of some of that stuff the way it was designed. But even that design wasn't the right design, because it was supposed to be a city. It was never supposed to be a theme park in the first place. So if you really only go by what Walt wanted, then you wouldn't love Epcot, because that was nothing even close to what he was drawing on the ceiling of his hospital bed,
You mentioned
cool.
Innovations, and that's a good. Sorry, Andrew. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, you say Innovations, like the idea is I grew up on it, or your kids grew up on it, and they miss it. And I miss it too, because I love Innovations. But what do you say to that person when the next person comes up behind you and says, Communicore was my thing,
Right.
and I can't believe they took it out and put Innovations in. Their nostalgic love for it is no more valid or invalid than your kids is for Innovations, or what someone's will be today for Dreamer's Point, or whatever it happens to be. That's just what you grew up
It
with.
was, they'll even if they hated it. Oh, why did they get rid of? Why did they get rid of Communicore Hall?
whatever,
We hated that so much. Why would they get rid of it? We like to
Right,
hate it.
yeah.
Now what do we make fun of? And here's a great, like, I liked my youngest daughter hates the Muppets, just despises them. They creep her out. And so Andrew Prince says he can't wait to see what they do with the Monsters Inc. theater. And again, when they announced that, as much as I might lament the change, what a great spot to put that in. Like, what a great land to add over there. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I think they made a really good choice there, and still kept the Muppets. I would love to see them put Muppet 3D Vision in that theater where the Villains show is, next to Rock and Roller Coaster, and have a little full on Muppets area, maybe.
I mean, we can all wish for the things we look back. I think we all come up with this. If they were going to come up with a 5th gate, what would it be? And I feel like everybody's in their top 5 is, I want the nostalgia part.
Right.
I want them to put everything back into clothes. I want Horizons. I want
Nothing
Horizon,
will
the
go in
first
line
one.
with anything. It'd just be just little areas of.
Right, and it's true, but it does remind me that I'm not really announcing these checks. I'm not ready, but I'm working on a book about the Jungle Cruise, and I feel like I probably learned a story before, but I just kind of learned it doing this book, and it was and if you know this story, bear with me. I'm going to tell it anyway, but it was it's 1955. And Disneyland has just opened, or it's been open for a little while. There's 55 or 56. Walt Disney goes incognito. He walks around the parks to see if everything's going right, if the right number of fireworks are there. Is the Jungle Cruise 7 minutes, or did they hit the gas a little bit and it's only 4 minutes, that kind of thing. And he overhears a a little boy asking his mom if they can go on the Jungle Cruise. And she goes, "No, we did that last time. We're not going to do it this time. We're going to do something else." To which Walt goes, "Oh, well, that's not going to do at all." And so that's when he went back to his Imagineers and said, "All right, we got to get back to the Jungle Cruise. Let's plus it up. Let's add some things." And legend goes that's the inspiration for the infamous quote, "Disneyland will never be complete. It will always be state of changing." So it was that realization that the park's not even a year old, and some people already go with the mindset, seen it, done it, not going to do it again. And that's why I realized this can't be a stagnant museum piece. This has to evolve and change in big ways, in little ways, in subtle ways, in grand ways. So no matter what it is, it's got to keep it going, keep everybody's interest and keep it magical for everybody and not become,
That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that, or at least not in any conscious way as you say that. It is interesting that, we can't, like I was so thrilled because living in Virginia, I very seldom get to be there on day one of anything. It usually is just luck. Even knowing that I try to go down once a month, I still can't always do what I want to do. And so to get to go down and ride 2 new things, in the same week, that's awesome. And so I Disney fan people, I'm sure it's not just me. I hope not. Maybe it is. We are dying to be first in line for whatever's new snack, new hotel, new whatever, and then want to be last in line for everything leaving because we don't want it to go. Like it is truly a cake and eat it too kind of crowd, right? Yeah. That we think of those things. We get really possessive and they become these traditions. Like I just have these fond, and you know what? It's like, we were talking about the other day, Buckaroo Banzai. I don't know if you remember that movie or not.
I do. Okay. I don't know if I ever saw it, but I do remember it.
It does not hold up well. And
okay, well, I won't go rushing to watch
right.
it.
I don't think you need to. You might love it. I mean, it's nostalgic for me. I remember thinking it was just really cool and weird and avant-garde. And then when my son was reading Ready Player One, they mentioned it, and he watched it, and we watched it together. And he's like, "Dad, what the heck is this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe you're right." What was the show Alex Keating, Michael J. Fox was on? Family Ties. We went back and watched, and this is weird nostalgia. Brady Bunch, Dick Van Dyke, Father Knows Best, even The Love Boat. We watched those shows and they held up, but I didn't really want to rewatch Family Ties. It just didn't carry over for me.
Here's a route to keep back to Disney. If you talk, I just thought of this because you get the same argument when you talk about the Star Wars universe, and this comes up a lot for people who have watched a few of the movies. No, when you ask somebody, and you just talk about the movies, what's your favorite movie? What's the best one? And I mean, you get obviously a lot of different answers, and more often than not, that answer is the one you grew up with.
Exactly.
For me, it's the original one because yes, I was old enough to go to the theater 13 times to see it. For like my daughter, believe it or not, and I actually have a fondness in my heart for this movie. Phantom Menace is her Star Wars because that's the one we went to 7 times when she was 8 years old. For kids today, it could be the new trilogy, but it depends. Like where your sweet spot is the one you grew up with, but that doesn't mean someone else's opinion is wrong or yours is right. It's just that's what you grew up with. So it's the same thing with Disney. It's really comes down to where your memories were made and where your magic, where you first got that touch of Disney magic. That's what sticks with you, and that's why like 80s. Early 90s Epcot that's my sweet spot. I wasn't there in the 80s. I don't know. So I hear about these, funny Astuter computer review and all these things that I've never seen. I don't know what they are, but that Jeremy Irons version of Spaceship Earth and oh man. And, we were there before the Sorcerer's Hat. So
right. So you hated it.
Chinese theater. That's
all I know is
no. Actually, I really like the Sorcerer's Hat, but I get it. But because for us, the Chinese theater was the icon. The water tower was the icon. Um, you want to get Epcot people angry, ask them what they think about the Mickey wand on Spaceship Earth. You're getting a
Oh
lot
my
of answers.
gosh.
Ooh, yeah.
But I have met people who really liked it because that's when they first saw it. When they first saw Spaceship Earth and went to Epcot, that wand was there. That was part of it. And I don't know if they really missed it when it was gone, but they didn't have the aversion to it that we do because it didn't sully their pristine nostalgic version of the right because they didn't have one.
Well, and that's the interesting thing too. Like I didn't walk into Disney in 2007. I mean, I went as a kid, right? And I went, it was fun. I loved it. I have some really cool core memories that'll last me forever, and I'll always remember. I mean, I will remember Pirates and Peter Pan to the day I die. Like I can feel myself still on. I can put myself all the way back there. I love memories like that. But when we started going as a family, I didn't have any opinion, right? I was frankly, I had 3 kids in diapers. I was just trying to survive, right? Just trying to get through the day without losing one of them. And then, we started slowly growing into it. And I don't know when that possession started. Like, I don't know when I started being so opinionated. I guess the more I read and the more you read other people's opinions. And then you start thinking, well, that's not right. And I, like you, I'm the same way. I don't think there's no wrong opinion. There's a lot about Disney I don't like. I just don't talk about it on a regular basis because I want to be very positive. It's the reason I started doing the podcast and my YouTube is because I want happy stuff, right? I mean, if we wanted to have a negative, we did a airing our grievances show, and it was still lighthearted, right? It was fun, and talked about little things that bother us, but nothing that would hurt anybody. And so I don't really even in saying this, I'm sad it's going, not mad, right? Like I'm not upset that they're changing it. I was kind of surprised. Like I felt like this was something that would stay forever. And I don't know why I thought that, but I really did. I just felt like, okay, they're going to leave a few things in the park that they're just never going to ever touch. And I guess they haven't done much to Jungle Cruise. Right. Like that's still, but even from the beginning, it was not a funny ride.
Well, you'll find out in this great book that's coming out.
If only there was anyone who would write a book about Jungle Cruise. But of course, I mean, that was the thing. They started and like, it wasn't fun or it wasn't fun enough and they changed it for whatever reason. And now I think it's been the same iteration is now for quite some time. So that one seems like it's moving along, but the jokes evolve, right? It's different jokes, even though it's the same animals.
Oh, these jokes. I've heard so many jokes over the last 2 weeks.
From the Jungle Cruise?
Yeah.
Just playing in your head randomly or?
In the course of doing some research.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of similar too. I guess when I kind of hear all of this and I get a little it's more when the declarations are made that this is wrong or this is not right, and especially when Walt Disney would never have. Don't speak for Walt Disney. You don't know Walt.
I know. I keep doing the same thing, and I'm like,
and you don't, and that's not fair because it's
right.
It's like you're pulling in my expert witness, and you have no right to bring this person in. He doesn't know what you said and all that. But it's kind of like early on in my thing, with guidebooks, which I used to before all of us started doing internet stuff, and we had the guidebooks that people would write and stuff. And one thing that would kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit was that if I'm reading a guidebook and the author of said guidebook would declare, I'll take It's a Small World, for example, 1 star, don't ride it, easily pass it, it's boring, it's nasty, the song is horrible, it's a must cross that off your list, that kind of thing. And so many other things fall into this. And to me, that was, you can't, I mean, you could say it, but it's not fair to say that because for some people, they have the opposite feeling of it. Conversely, they might say, go on Expedition Everest, 5 stars, can't miss it. Don't you dare leave this off your list. Well, a lot of people don't like roller coasters, so it's more about, I think, talking about what's out there and discussing the way it is, but not feeling you can speak for everybody that this is this and this is that. And in this case, this is a mistake. This is a disaster. This is the wrong move. We'll see. And some people won't like it. Some people will. I'm frankly really surprised when I saw the news that they're changing it only in the sense of I thought if anything, and I was so afraid of this, that they would the rumor that goes around all the time was going to close and something else would go in because nobody goes there. I was actually surprised they went the other way and said, oh, not only is this not going to close, we're going to invest a lot into this to make it an updated version of the same experience, which is the way I look at it. It's not a new 3D thrill spinning ride that we're putting in the building. It's the same thing. It's following the family through the ages. We're just updating it to keep it current because, there was quite a gap between the 40s and the rat race to all of a sudden we got 3D virtual reality and grandma's talking oven. There was quite a gap in there of technology.
So it's funny though that you say that because I've seen a bunch of people say the same thing that so my oldest we were, armchair quarterbacking it today. What would you do? And they were saying the jump, if they did it so originally it was a history of electricity, right? Like that was the idea. It was going to be in Edison's extension of Main Street. And then GE wanted you to buy, the reason there now is the time is because they wanted you to buy washing machines now, not later. I mean, so it's not all some egalitarian, imaginary perfect Walt Disney who made all these things. He was making deals with Monsanto and all kinds of crazy companies. And it steered, or it seems like it did at least, where he was going. But why not do an amalgamation of what's there now? Like to start in 69, my kid was like, well, that's crazy. Like they should have started where they started and then jumped to the 50s and told the story of the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s all at once. And then done the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s all at once in some kind of amalgamation, or jump like every 40 years. And they didn't think that would be too much, but I heard a lot of people saying that they didn't think the jump in time, they thought the jump in time would be too much. But my kid thought it'd be great. And then, end in the far off future on another planet or whatever you're doing to keep it from being, for our current technology to catch up to the future world so quickly, which, I mean, I'm sure when they put that scene in, even when they revamped it with laser discs and all the fancy things, I mean, there's no way they knew that 15 minutes later it would be obsolete. Like, by the time they programmed the animatronic.
Oh, they knew.
You think? My gosh, it moves so fast.
Yes, because I'll tell you this, because this reminds me of the same, because Carousel of Progress and Spaceship Earth are very similar in this sense. And you kind of reminded me of this. If pretend there was no Carousel of Progress at all. And Disney said, we're going to make a Carousel of Progress. And it's going to be a journey through a family through the years. And we're going to look at how their lives have changed. And we have 5 scenes to do it. And it's on you, Mr. Show Writer, Mr. Imagineer. Okay, pick them. What are you going to do? And you have the whole. Where do you start?
Yeah.
What do you take out? Mm-hmm. And they had the same problem with Spaceship Earth, and we don't think much about it writing it, but as I was learning about how they developed the storyline of Spaceship Earth, knowing that they were going to talk about the history of communication, and Carousel of Progress being the history of technology, so kind of similar. But when we talk about the history of communication, you only have so many scenes to do it, and each scene is 30 seconds, and that's it. You have thousands of years of history. How do you even begin to distill that down to the 20 scenes or whatever it is? So it is hard. So you could come up with a new Carousel of Progress today from scratch, and you maybe decide to start in the 1900s like we did. And we're nostalgic for that because that's what the old Carousel of Progress did. But absent of that, let's start in the 60s before we had internet and computers and all of that stuff, and that'll be where we kind of started. And then
it is,
or you could go so many directions, which is it is interesting. It's a challenge, which is fun for an Imagineer, but it's a tough one.
It's funny, we brought up the exact same thing, and this is how nerdy our family is on a Tuesday afternoon. Is we sat in the living room in our minds going through arguing about which scene came where in Spaceship Earth. Because that was the same thing. My kids said,
Yeah.
well, they went from cavemen to Library of Alexandria, then to Egypt. I'm like, no.
Nope, got it
And so,
backwards.
we had to sit there, and we're both of us closing our eyes and literally doing a little hand track thing as we're going up and discussing how big those jumps were, and then how much smaller they became. Right, to think about Moore's law and how fast technology's caught up with everything. It's pretty wild. Because
Well, to your question,
I think we talked last time about adding in a scene to Spaceship Earth. You know, I love it the way it is, but you could do one more scene and add a little more communication. Or
Yeah, but what do you put? So that'd be a topic. What do you put in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've jumped
if
from the 80s to nothing.
Yeah.
Right. You go from the garage to.
So, well, and I wasn't when you said how could they know that in 15 minutes this was going to be obsolete? And I wasn't kidding. I think they knew very well it was going to be obsolete, and that was, and I think that's why Spaceship Earth ends where it ends. And Tomorrowland is always a perpetual, probably of all the lands, the Tomorrowland is the perpetual challenge, because they knew early on it's so hard to predict the future when the future is right around the corner. And the big danger is when you get to that future, one, it's not the future anymore, so big whoop. And two, did you even get it right in the first place?
Yeah.
So that's why that's always a challenge, and why that Christmas room is always a challenge, and why Tomorrowland's a challenge. And that's why they ended up going in the 90s when they switched over, from Tomorrowland being a sort of, it was supposed to be a vision of the future in the 80s, and this is what it's going to be like, scrapping all that, because by times we got to the 80s, that's not what it looked like at all.
Right.
And coming up with this storyline of a fantasy version of like a retro futuristic visionary Jules Verne kind of idea of Tomorrowland. So it could be timeless, but still kind of futuristic in a way. But that's the problem. You have Carousel of Progress, the last scene of Spaceship Earth, it's hard. I remember when Spaceship Earth came out and you had those vignettes at the end, which they don't have now, which I miss. But when in the 80s, this was video phones, and we can, mean I can sing lullaby to my daughter halfway around? What kind of wizardry is this? And then we get to the 90s, and we're all just doing this as we're going through the ride.
In our car.
Right.
Yeah.
And, so it's that, how do you predict the future without it getting obsolete tomorrow, which is the perpetual challenge they have.
Now
We should be worried about
an enviable one, but
what's going to happen to Uncle Orville.
That is a valid concern, and I brought the same thing up with my kids. What happens to Mel Blanc in this?
Yeah, they got to be a tribute somewhere, isn't there?
Well, the Disney themselves said that's still
right.
The no privacy at all is still going to be there.
Good.
So
okay, I didn't hear that. Okay, cool.
It may solve two other problems I've always had: is what happens to that little girl in the beginning? Where does she just disappear to?
The one in the wash scene.
Yeah, that girl who's gone and turned a century and then just disappears. And then also, why did he make her a paint mixer if she's hanging wallpaper? That really,
it was for the glue.
For glue,
it doesn't say mixing glue. It says I made you that paint mixer, as though she were mixing paint, which she's not.
I got paint all over my rumpus.
Paint all of my rumpus room.
Maybe she was painting animal.
I don't know.
These are questions,
right?
We need answers.
Well, now we'll never get them because they're going to change.
We're never going to get
them. Gone because
maybe we'll see a finished rumpus room circa 1960.
I think that would be kind of cool. Maybe they're watching the moon landing from their rumpus room.
Wow. That's another example of this. Like when Tomorrowland opened, you had Flight to the Moon,
right?
And you had in Disneyland, and in Magic Kingdom, you had Flight to the Moon. Right away, that was obsolete. Even though when they were making it for Disneyland, this was big, and we never been there. And they're building the rocket ship in the middle of Tomorrowland, and this is futuristic. By the time it gets to Magic Kingdom, we're all moon ho hum. So quickly, we're changing it to Mars and changing it to other stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's that whole.
And Chuck brings up
Chuck's
Rex Allen's gone.
Yeah,
he was going to.
But it was Gene Shepard. It's not Rex Allen.
Rex Allen's the grandfather, right?
Rex Allen was the original.
Yeah. and
Gene Shepard.
and then the
They kept saying-
grandfather in
Right.
the,
But I think it's going to be, they say Tom Hanks, but that was before COVID. So
Karen says
Sure.
maybe she was painting. She could have been cutting in trim. That's true. Maybe she was.
Maybe she was painting the trim.
original HGTV.
That's right.
Whatever it was not a good idea, Father.
It is, and I'll tell you, Andrew Prince. I did the same thing today while I was making dinner. Watching some old videos and some history of carousel progress, and it just cements or paints or glues or whatever she was using in the point that we are just attached to our own version, because I watched the first versions and I didn't like them very much.
Yeah, this is, you pointed out, this is not the original version by any stretch. So
I watched the original version. I was like, it's all right. It's not as good as what I had. Mine was better. I don't.
that is funny. If you go back and look at original versions of a lot of this stuff, and it's like your family ties thing. It's like in the glow of nostalgia, it's wonderful and the best thing ever. When you go back and actually watch it, you're like, really?
Oh, my kids say stuff like that all the time. Like I don't know if you ever read any P.G. Wodehouse, but like Jeeves and Wooster, or seen Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry did a British version. Anyway, it's like a British butler, and he dresses, and it's so cool. I would never want to do that. Like in my head, I would love, but I mean, you're talking about people who didn't wear had to wear a tuxedo after 5 p.m. Right? Like, I mean, they would go upstairs and change for dinner, and as romantic as that is, I can only think that they were just sweating to death, and they smelled horrible, and the amount of effort it would take to put into doing that, even though it seems really cool. I don't want to do that.
I can tell you that Walt liked change. We always said it, because I was watching on Brian's channel, Keeping Walt and Disney, the preview for Disneyland. He gets the part where Walt brings out the big book of Mickey Mouse, and he opens it up, and he goes, "Here's a little mouse. He didn't look this way in the beginning. We had to make changes to make him better." So even with Mickey Mouse, he made changes. So when people say, "Well, Walt's vision," we've beat that into the ground enough, but
It's
things
true.
are got to change, or it gets stale and nobody's going to show up. We just hope they make the best decisions.
So, I mean, it's okay if you want to say I'm uncomfortable with change, or I don't like it, or whatever. But to bring Walt into the conversation is
ridiculous.
Right. It's so hard. And I try so hard not to do it. And then I do it every single time. All right.
And Walt might not like some stuff,
Right.
but that's for him to say.
Yeah.
I will. Oh, good. Chuck remembers Bertie Wooster and Jeeves. Thanks. I appreciate that. I make that reference all the time, and I just get crickets from it. All right. So, as always with Tim, we go over an hour. This is why I love having you on the show, because it's so effortless to talk this long. But I will end with this. This is the most controversial take. I swear to God, this was on the internet today. There was someone campaigning that we get rid of the dog and finally put a cat at the center of the stage where it belongs.
That is un-American.
I agree with that. No, I agree with there should be a
There
cat.
should be a cat.
What?
I'm a cat person. So.
I just thought that was awesome. Like,
My cat is with me. We actually went one time to see if there is a cat in every scene, and there is. Even in the Halloween scene, there's a
Right.
black cat on
the
So there you
table.
go.
But it's funny. That was their thing. Like, everyone's going, "No, I hate it. Yes, I love it. No, I hate it. I wish there was more cat." And then people just kind of stopped. Okay.
Well, hey,
Who's
you
cat?
never know.
Maybe we're arguing over the wrong things. Maybe it's all a distraction
Next week it'll be
to
green
keep
milk or
cats
blue
down.
milk.
Right. Make them fight over this ride that they don't even know how it started, so that cats can slide in unannounced.
I think it's blue milk, and there's no discussion.
That's right.
Yes, I think you're correct.
We can.
Exactly.
I mean, we can argue
Right.
about it, but
Not tonight, because you're correct.
It's already past.
I
bedtime.
agree. If I had a gavel, I would.
Boom.
All right, Tim, tell everybody where to find you. If they don't
You
already
can
know.
send all your angry letters to.
Lou Mangello at WDW.
Yeah, send them to Lou Mangel. Yeah, you can find me over at celebrationspress.com. Lots of stuff. The magazine's over there. The books are over there. No Jungle Cruise quite yet, but we're getting close to announcing that. There'll be a Spaceship Earth. It's a Small World, and lots of other goodies over there. And our own podcast, Rayella People, for being mean. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
And it's a lot of fun. You should check out his podcast. Like, I mean,
You should come on our podcast
anytime. You just let
You
me know. And I
guys.
love being.
Oh,
Sure.
I love being yelled
set
at.
this up.
We can pick this up in the next one.
That's right.
We're gonna set. No, we stay
Grievances
away.
Changes Part 2.
We talk about our favorite like Disney lizards and stuff. That's
Oh,
all
that's
we-
good.
Oh, that's a good
It
one.
was fun. The reptilia, the rodentia of Disney.
We should do it like Lincoln Douglas debate style, where like for the first half of the show
Oof.
you argue for carousel, and the second half you argue against it.
Okay.
We'll just do it that way. No,
Okay.
and if you need to find Tim, it's not hard because I hope everyone's listening is subscribed to the But Mostly Disney newsletter. Look, I even have a graphic, very fancy. You can scan that QR code. But I have in there on the way down, you can find a link to Tim's book and his site. So click that if you're in the newsletter when I send that out, and you can buy his book. He'll send it right to your door. Ask him nicely, he'll sign it. Who knows?
I'll bring it myself. Get in my car and bring it.
Oh,
Andrew, how's the old YouTube channel going?
good. Put some truck stuff together. Got to edit it. I can't sit still. I get one thing done, and then I'm gonna change this. So I take it all back apart again. So it's going good. I found some old Disney footage. Sorry, I've got the hockey game on the other TV. I keep
That's
playing.
okay.
Who's winning? Who's winning? What's-
Carolina, of course, 2-0.
Oh, we're
Our
Carolina.
buddy Billy Thorpe's here. If you have any horse questions, please Google him, and
Yes.
he'll be happy to answer them for you. He doesn't.
But
know that.
latest video up I have is my daughters took over my camera and went through Moana. So check that out at Mouse Gears. They did a very good job. So
I love it. And then I think for the rest of everything else, if you just Google But Mostly Disney, you'll find my social media and YouTube. I've got 2 new videos up, one for Muppet, one for Sora, and I'm getting ready to review Pop Century. I've got a bunch of stuff to do, so I'm trying to get the long form videos out. And please subscribe to the newsletter if you are not. We just had 2 friends who lost their Facebook groups. You know, most of our
Yes, they
traction
did.
is on Facebook, and their little things are gone. So at least if I have you on the newsletter, and I promise I very seldom send it out, so it's not like it's going to annoy you. Yeah. See, Billy says he's a real horse expert. He'll be. I popped on his stream the other day, and he told me if you're not a horse person, please leave now. Which just made me stick around for longer because I wanted to know what was going on. Don't tell me what to do. But please, and then maybe a review or 2 for the podcast. That'll help other people find it. Thanks, as always, Caleb. I promise we knew we weren't doing the news tonight. Chuck, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Karen, as always. Jason, thanks for being here, buddy. Tony, all the way from Alaska. And my buddy, Andrew Prince, who may or may not be in our latest video. And Matthew Woolley. Thanks, guys, for coming so much. We will see you next week.
have a good night.
Good night.
Our time is too short, it's over now. And we hate to say goodbye, but we'll be back next Tuesday night, or at least we sure will.